David Shield is a non-profit organization training over 10,000 civilians every year in protection, mindset, and skill set.
Hey everyone, this is Lenny. Today we're going to be talking about access control. And what do I mean by access control? Effectively, access control is the idea of making sure that every single person that we allow access into our place of worship, our church, our synagogue, our mosque, it doesn't really matter what it is, that we are satisfied with them, we're happy with them, and that we are not concerned that they pose a threat in any way or form to the congregants, to the people that I care about, my family, as well as the greater community. So I'm going to just reference a recent incident that happened in Texas, in a place, White Settlement, Texas, where there was an incident that took place where the priest was actually shot. And it came out later that the person who perpetrated the attack was seen as being suspicious, but he'd already gained access to the actual church. Now, the reason that access control is so important, and as we've spoken about before, we have security bubbles. Now, access control is our innermost bubble for the phase of people arriving to the place of worship and gaining access. And we want to be checking out whoever is coming in, and we want to be 100% satisfied that we are okay with them. So you might say to me, no, but we can't do that, or how do we do that? So the bottom line is that private property, in as far as I'm aware, and in most cases, right of admission is reserved, meaning that I'm representing the place of worship as a security person or as a protector, and I therefore have the right to refuse entry or to ask someone to leave for any reason that I believe is necessary. If I see them as a possible threat, if they're a risk, whatever it may be, I have that right to turn them away. And ultimately, access control means that I'm going to be looking for people of interest or persons of interest in terms of their behavior, in terms of what they're doing, and I'm going to, if necessary, ask them relevant questions to either allow them to gain access to my facility, or I'm going to turn them away. I personally have done access control at some very high level events. I've had the privilege of once doing access control at a large event where a Prime Minister of Israel was speaking, not in Israel, abroad, and it was a large security function with hundreds of security personnel, and I was the main lead in terms of access control, and my sole function was to make sure that every single person that entered the talk was allowed to enter, was okay to enter, and that I was happy with them, and I had full right and I had full legal right to stop, question, and determine whether every single person that I deemed a person of interest, by the time I allowed them in, I needed to know that I was 100% happy with them. And that is what access control is about. It's about knowing that anyone that has walked past me or the person that's doing access control and allowed into the inner bubble, which is in this instance a church or a place of worship, that once they've been allowed in, that they are 100% checked and cleared and okay to be there, therefore ensuring the safety and security of those inside.
So this is Nathan here from David Shield. Just to add a few more points. It sounds very serious, and it is a very serious event, protecting a prime minister, people of high people of interest. But the reason that you, listening to this, as an average, normal civilian community member, are the best person to do access control at your children's school, at your church, at your synagogue, at your community center is because you know the faces and the way people act that is acceptable in your community. That doesn't mean that every stranger is somebody that you should deny access to, but it means that as you being access control, or as people like to call it, the welcoming committee at the front of your church, it means that you are able to allow the flow to continue because you know and recognize the vast majority of people that are coming into that church or into that school. Access control is very easy when that is the case, when you know the majority of people there. That means that only a few people or a few cars or a few bags or a few whatever it is, you're going to have to pay attention to and make sure that they are deemed okay or 100% okay before you let them in. As Lenny mentioned before, this attacker in White Settlement, Texas, was allowed into the church. In an interview post the event, the head of security of that church admitted that this person was a person of interest. They were worried about him. They even placed a security person to sit behind him. But yet he was able to stand up and shoot 2 people before being shot dead himself. This could have been stopped, and I'm not coming here to question those that were working security in the church. I'm not saying that we could have done a better job, but if you use access control well, if you would have placed people on the doors that would have picked up on the fact that this guy was wearing they would have picked up that this gentleman, this attacker, this dangerous individual was wearing a wig and a fake beard and a big jacket, which they recognized. That's why they put the security person behind him. If that was recognized as he walked across the parking lot or at the front door and he was then stopped, either he would have been denied access, walked away and not attacked, or the attack would have happened further out and far less likely the 2 people would have been killed because they were in a confined space. I want to also talk about access control when it comes to cars. We are assisting right now a school in Kansas in America that is open with no physical security, checking whether those that are picking the children up from school are the people that should be picking the children up from school. The sex trade, the kidnapping trade in America is rampant. It is very, very dangerous. You need to, in schools, have an access control for the people picking up your children. The advice that we have given this school is both physical and human security, making sure that there are barriers on both ends of the street that the school is on, and a teacher standing at each end, and a teacher that is allowing the pupils to finally get into the cars. Why do we extend that access control to either side of the street? So that if there's a suspicious person in the car, not the parent, someone that should not be picking up the child, they do not get to the front door. They are denied access to go further down the street to come any closer to the school. Once a shooting has happened inside, once a kidnapping has happened outside the school, it is too late. We need to use access control funneling in order to stop the danger far enough away from that which is precious to us in order to succeed and to save lives. For more information on our education and training, please visit www.davidshieldfoundation.org.